Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm Old Who.
Yo ho ho!
I'm Michael Storm, and I'm All Who.
Or does nobody actually say that?
Well, welcome aboard, Michael. Folks, hey, I have Michael Storm. Am I right?
Yes, correct,
Okay,
yes.
okay. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. And we have just met literally 2 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago now, it says. Okay, Roy Corden looking at the time. And Michael has volunteered to take one for the team and watch and talk Curse of the Black Spot. So, but before we start talking about this very piratey episode, Michael, why don't you tell everybody your Doctor Who origin story? How did you become a fan of Doctor Who?
Well, I've pretty much been watching Doctor Who since I was a wee lad from about 4 years old. I have distinct memories of season 24, particularly Paradise Towers and Dragonfire. I did have some vague memories of Time Lash, but I'd only have been 2, and I think that might be Mandela effect memories from seeing the Target novelisation cover. But I can remember bits and pieces from Paradise Towers. I can remember the Yellow Kang at the start, the Dresses going through the waste disposal unit, and the TARDIS scene. But in a rather strange way, my memory of the TARDIS scene is, this will make sense to British listeners of a certain ages. I kept picturing the TARDIS in my memory as the broom cupboard, which was the introduction set for children's BBC. I have no idea why.
Okay, I don't think I've ever seen that, and I'm a pretty Anglophile. We don't get all your shows, but when I was a child, my mom and we watched everything Masterpiece Theater, and my brother, he introduced me to Doctor Who, and we got it. And when I saw it first, it was syndicated by Time Life, and it was the Tom Baker ones with and we had an intro from an American actor going previously on Doctor Who or next on Doctor Who, but by then. So hey, so let me ask you: so is Sylvester is he your favorite Doctor or your favorite old school Doctor because he's your first?
I know my favourite old school Doctor would be Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor.
Okay.
But for a long time, if you'd asked me when I was perhaps when I was younger, say in my teens, was probably have said Tom Baker. But in I think it was 1992, BBC Two, they did a repeat season of one story for each of the then 7 Doctors, which were Time Meddler, Mind Robber, Sea Devils. Then we had a bonus one because they'd just recolorized the Demons, the Genesis of the Daleks, Caves of Androzani, Revelation of the Daleks, and I think they finished off with Battlefield. And that's really when I properly became a proper fanboy, I think.
Yeah, talking to different people on the show, like Jeff, who's been on a bunch, and others, is you guys can mark moments in your childhood by those Doctor Who repeats, the 5 Faces of the Doctor and those. So that's cool, because until you guys got the Whoniverse, we've always had it on somewhere. I mean, I have an app on my phone called Pluto, and it is a Doctor Who channel. And it just
Jason mentions that a few times.
Yeah, it is. It's convenient and it's nice if you just want to watch something at random. But I kind of like that you guys now have. I'm jealous of the Whoniverse. I wish we had that because it has everything. Because we don't we have Modern Who on pre RTD2 is on HBO Max. And Classic Who is on BritBox, but it is very incomplete. There only one animated story. It's only Power of the Daleks, and sometimes the Dalek stories are on it, and sometimes they're not, depending on if the check is cleared to the nation state, I think.
For a long time, one of the cable channels in the UK Gold, they didn't have the rights to show the Dalek stories, so they just had to skip them.
Oh my God!
Then they finally made a negotiation with the estate, and they had a Dalek Day and had an entire Saturday showing all the existing Dalek stories.
See, that'd have been fun. See, I got it on Maryland Public Broadcasting for the most part. When I first introduced it was the Time Life, and that was episodic, but it was only the first 4 years of Tom Baker. When that contract ran out, BBC offered everything, either in 2 formats, in individual episode format or an omnibus format. And our public broadcasting, where I grew up, picked the omnibus. So I saw everything as a movie, which was neat when I finally got to see things in episodic form. But to be honest, it was so bad. Is the first time I've ever seen a Doctor Who serial in episodic form is Jodie's final season.
Oh.
Because it was all pretty much old Who. The first way I saw it was as a movie or on a DVD or VHS, where I didn't have to wait. I was just, you're watching it as a serial, but you're watching it in one sitting, so you don't have to go, oh, what's going to happen, because you're just going to go click and go to the next episode. But I liked it, but there were some weird things. I've said this on the podcast before. It's the Sarah. What's the ice planet? Third Doctor Dalek story. Is that?
Planet of the Daleks.
Yeah, there's over here because it was only in black and white for a while because there was one episode they were missing an episode in color. Or one of the episodes was missing in color.
Episode 3, yes.
So they just cut it out of the omnibus, and you didn't miss it. You don't miss it because they're in the ducts or the tunnels at the end of both episodes. It just was like, did I miss something? Okay, let's just go on. So it wasn't until it came out on a DVD or a VHS, whatever it came out on first. Okay, that's it. So, but hey, we're here to talk. Well, let me ask you another thing because we're going to be talking. We just talked about old Who. Do you have a favorite new Who Doctor or era that's your preference? I mean, everybody has different tastes, and I know mine changes, over time.
Overall, I'd probably say I'm more of a fan of the Moffat era.
Okay.
I'd probably lean towards Peter Capaldi, but I quite liked Matt Smith as well. So
yeah.
Those two, I think it might depend what day of the week you ask me on and what sort of mood I'm in if I say Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi.
I'm that way too with Doctor, because because Tom was my first, but I don't dislike Tom. Tom Baker's amazing, and when I'm watching him, I love him for the most part. As a former theater person, sometimes later in his run, I'm like going, where was the director and a stun gun? But he's so good at it. But Peter was my Doctor because he was the first new one I got to see. So basically, for me, the last Doctor I saw was Pertwee because it was Tom, and then we got the way it was delivered. But Matt is my modern and kind of my all-time Doctor right now. One, because I'm a huge fan of Moffat, good or up or down. Because he's the type of writer I like. He reminds me of Aaron Sorkin and Josh Whedon and others that have this kind of rhythm to the way they write. There's a meter, and it's not normal. It's not always realistic. It's a little over the top, a little big. But I think that suits Matt, and I fell in love with Matt from the moment he popped out of the TARDIS. I do love Capaldi because he's a cranky old Scot, and my father was a sweet old Scot. but I do love Matt, and we share a birthday. That makes it even better.
Oh, okay. So a yearly useless piece of trivia about Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
About 14 years ago, I was dating a girl from Northamptonshire, and she went to the same school as Matt Smith.
Okay. And
Matt Smith was in the same year as her older sister, and her sister used to bully him at school.
So, I like that. I like those little touches on famous people. Mine is a morning show host over here named Hody Cobb, who's on the Today program. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's a famous morning show over here. But I went to high school with her, and my wife was like, really? She wasn't that glamorous. It was 1982. She was not that glamorous. She's just, there's a lot of professional makeup. But that's cool. I'm a huge fan of Moffat. And a huge fan of Matt. So part of that made watching this this time, because I haven't watched this one in a long time. I haven't watched a lot of modern Who unless it's been coming out since the pandemic. I did a deep dive on old Who, and then I've just been I just kind of jump in when I'm interested or when I'm covering an episode. I've not done any watch throughs or runs or big pulls in a while.
I did think about doing the pilgrimage when I was setting up my own podcast and doing it that way. But one of the things I don't get on very well with recons. Some people do. And I decided I was going to skip ones which didn't have an animation. And, oh dear, that went down well on Twitter.
But we've been talking for a bit. We haven't even started to talk about this piratey story. So what was your what is your take on this one? I mean, what do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Oh, wait, hold on a second. I forgot, folks. Hey, I'm going to jump to the synopsis and then let Michael answer my question. So we'll be right back. The Curse of the Black Spot. Story 6.02. Writer, Stephen Thompson. Director, Jeremy Webb. Producer, Marcus Wilson. Executive producer, Stephen Moffat, Piers Wegner, and Beth Willis. Originally aired May 7th, 2011. Captain Avery writes in his journal on April 1, 1699, his ship, the Fancy, has been marooned on a calm ocean for 8 days while his crew are taken one by one. With no wind, they cannot escape the presence that is stalking them. The last 6 crew members of the Fancy are at the mercy of a siren that spirits away anyone who is injured. The Doctor, Amy, and Roy are believed to be stowaways and made to walk the plank. Amy fends off pirates with a sword, and when she cuts one, a black spot appears on his hand. Rory is wounded, and he too gets the spot. They hear beautiful singing, and the siren, an ethereal young woman, rises out of the flat sea. The injured men are drawn to her, but as the pirate touches her, he appears to vaporize. The Doctor gets everyone into the hold, but another sailor is bitten by a leech, and the siren emerges from the bilge water and takes him. Believing the creature uses water as a portal, they head to the ship's armory, which has to be kept dry. There they find Avery's son, Toby, who stowed away to be with his father after his mother died. He has the black spot even though he is ill rather than injured. The remaining pirates mutiny. One tries to make off with Avery's treasure but is taken by the siren. The Doctor realizes she emerges not from the water but from any reflective surface and insists on throwing all the pirates' treasure overboard. A storm hits and everyone rushes to raise the sails so they can finally get away. Avery has kept one piece of golden treasure, however, and the siren uses it to take Toby. Roy is knocked overboard, so the Doctor allows the siren to take him before he drowns, reasoning she is not a mindless killer. The Doctor, Amy, and Avery prick their fingers so the siren will take them. They find themselves on a spaceship in the same place as the Fancy, but in a different plane. The alien crew are dead, killed by a virus from Earth, while Roy and the pirates are alive, but in stasis, held on the verge of death. The siren is a medical program and has been preserving the injured, but does not know how to cure humans. Amy takes Rory off life support and successfully revives him with CPR. Unable to leave his son, Avery stays on the alien ship and pilots it away from Earth. Another great synopsis from the new Doctor Who program guide, unofficial and unauthorized, by Paul Smith, with a foreword by the master himself, Jean-Marc L'Officier. A great tool for all you nerds need. All right, sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt. What was your take on? Give me just give us just a quick take on what you think of this story.
I think after rewatching it, I had a rather negative opinion of it before. I think it's just kind of rather average, I think. There's one of the reasons they moved it in the season was because they thought, oh, we've got quite a few indoorsy, dark stories going around, so we need to lighten it up a bit. But for the most of the story, we're stuck in the fog and on the ship going nowhere, so you're not really trading it for much, are you?
No, I don't think you are, because I had a pretty negative feeling about it before rewatching it, and I've watched it twice in the last 24 hours. I will say it went from me really going, God, I don't really want to watch this one again, to going, hey, it's not as bad as I thought, and it is an entertaining 45 minutes of TV. But the problem is you really can't, it's so uneven. I think season 5 is one of the best seasons of Doctor Who ever. I think season 6 is very up and down.
I think that's fair, yes.
Yeah, because there's some stuff I really like and there's stuff I really dislike. I don't like the finale of this season at all, really. I find it's like, if you're going to do a serialized story, know your ending before you even write the middle.
Yeah, I also think that Wedding River Song needed to be two episodes or an extended episode just to let it breathe a bit because it's a bit bang, 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 bang.
Yeah,
bang.
and it's like, oh, you're tying up that plot line. Why, you don't feel why they're tying it up, just that they're tying up a plot line that they've left out there. It drives me nuts. But for this one, it's a little uneven. And I found it like a very traditional. Like I could see the script being done in Old Who.
Yeah, I think that's, to a certain degree, I think that's true to a lot of Moffat stories. There is a sort of Old Who vibe about a lot of it. Like you have Flesh and Stone and Time of Angels. With a few minor edits, that would not look out of place in classic Who. You could see that being a Tom Baker or a Sylvester McCoy story.
Yeah, you'd just be in a dodgier cave set, and that would, instead of a real cave. But yeah, I like parts of this. I'm not a big on the pirate genre. I know they were probably doing this because the Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff like that. And I'm a big Hugh Bonneville fan. You know, it's always nice to see him in a film or TV show. I'm not a big Downton Abbey fan. I'm not big on watching rich white people complain about their lives. But he was a get too. He was in down. This was when he was on the uptick, even internationally. So it was a big get. But I like aspects of it. So what did you think of the overall story? The basic concept of the story. Did you?
Well, it's itself. I think it's okay, but it seems one of these things is, how come Doctor Who hasn't done Sirens before? But this is where I think it's such an obvious one to do. I mean, you could do it like in a sort of science fiction sort of way, like the book like they did on Red Dwarf. But I think one of the things is they've kind of got the notion of the siren a little bit wrong, because the siren would be beckoning them towards an island or something, so they should have run aground rather than be becalmed.
Yeah, I liked that aspect of it. I do like the weird, because in American science fiction, we like Star Trek, we explain why things work, and I find that dull. I do like Star Trek, but I mean, I do like that you all, like Doctor Who, it takes something and runs with it. It doesn't try to explain, okay, the alien, there's there's a lot less technobabble. It's just, she's an automatic medic on a spaceship, and it doesn't matter why she just takes a weird form in the Sirens thing. But I kind of like that part of it. What I like about modern Who is a lot is that there aren't monsters really. They're just aliens that are different, and because sometimes the humans are the bad guy, sometimes the monster's the bad guy, and sometimes it's just weird technology. There is no monster, there is no bad guy. It's just something is happening.
Yeah, I quite like the ethereal look they gave the Siren as well, the sort of turquoisey, greeny light they've got on her, and it gives that sort of otherness about her, which I think helps sell it and make it a little bit more mystical. And they're very much, as they often do in modern movies, there is that little bit of a picture postcard setting of everything. Is that we've got very distinctively and very obvious pirate costumes. We've got the tri-corner hats. We've got the cutlasses. We've got all the iconography you want. You've got the walk in the plank. It's the bits you want in a pirate-based story, and they've got the budget and the ability to do it now, because you'd think them putting the Doctor on the planet would just be dodgy CSO.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's what I like. That was neat. I know the ship they were on is just stationary. It's a museum. It's a museum ship, right? I mean, we have museum ships in this country too, like the USS Constitution, and there's schooners and battleships and stuff. So I think the direction was good and solid, because you really buy it's out in the ocean when it's sitting there on a dock.
Yeah.
That I liked, and it had all the pirate stuff. I grew up with a brother who's older, and he would make me watch Burt Lancaster, and Errol Flynn made a bunch of pirate movies in the 40s and 50s. And
Captain Blood and things like that.
Yeah, and that's a great movie, dude. I'm a big Burt Lancaster fan. But it had all the good things about a pirate movie. They are kind of riding the coattails of Pirates of the Caribbean, which are these big, over-the-top, epic, giant, not a epic, but just over-the-top adventure movies. And very comedic. But I kind of liked it. And I like that Amy's the one that's the pirate. She's the one that does the piratey thing. Because I don't see Rory doing it. And definitely not Matt Smith's doctor. But I enjoyed that part. I think it looks I think they look great. I mean, it's great costumes. Watching it on my big TV. This is the first time I've ever this TV I got. And I fiddled with the settings, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, the costumes on this are spot on. They're really high quality. They look good.
So, I mean, I like Amy's got quite a bit of agency in this one, because, yeah, she does take on the entire crew, and there is a nice little bit of humour, is that to get a tiny scratch, they go, oh my god, I'm dead.
I love that scene where she's berating them for being wimpy. It's just a cut, you know? The way she treats it's because that's how she treats Roy and the doctor constantly. She's a bit of a bully to them both, but she's really good in it. And I'm of the Amy and Roy tandem companion, because I prefer it when they're both in the TARDIS, and I prefer Rory a little bit over Amy.
Yeah, I would say I always think it was a pity we didn't have a story which just mainly focused on the Doctor and Rory and how perhaps double banked the episodes like when they did the Lodger the previous year, where it was, well, not the Lodger because that was mostly on Matt Smith, but something like that. If they just had Amy away for the episode and they just had just the Doctor and Rory working on something.
That's a great idea. That'd have been nice in this season when she turns back into goo. Is have an episode, because we go right to the kind of finale. And you know what I mean? And it's just, there's a better way to have done it. And oh no, wait a minute. I'm getting this confused. So
it's because they jumped from what was it? Almost People, and then we bum into the Demon's Run.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do there. That would have probably been a good time to do it. Is to just, because in Demon's Run they're looking for him and they're all just, and she's back.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have rather, maybe find a way to find an episode where they have to they go on an adventure to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or they have an adventure while they're looking.
Yeah, something like trying to find the vapor trail or something, or triangulate where she's going to be.
Yeah, that'd have been neat, because I do think Arthur Darvill, I think the three of them have an incredibly good set of chemistry. They're really overall good companions. I think anytime I have a problem with them as companions, it's never the actor's fault. It's sometimes I don't think they're served by the script or the direction or what they're given to do. But they're good in this, and it's a lot of fun. The kids okay. Kid actors bug me because they're kid actors, and there's nothing they can do about it. There are great kid actors and they're workable children actors. This kid's not terrible.
Well, we got some terrible ones this season, like that kid in the Rebel Flesh on the video phone.
Oh my God, yeah. He was rough. But he's little. I gotta give him a little. He's a wee little child.
We probably shouldn't shit all over a 4-year-old.
No, I can't imagine. But I liked it. I think the pirates were good. I think the extra characters were good. It was fun and it had a good energy. I will say, it's very choppy because it's kind of like, okay, she can come through the water. Then it's the reflection, and that's kind of uneven to me. That part of the script. What did you think?
Yeah, it's like they haven't quite got the idea of what they were doing. And because I suppose it's reflections on the moonlight on the water, I suppose is the get out clause, and that's how she gets through. That's why she comes up through the water. But it is. The thing is, even if sort of slightly have the kid has the St. Christopher, which is dull, there's still going to be a bit of shine on it, even if it's a bit muted. So I'm not sure that quite works. And and then they go around to get rid of all the shiny surfaces. They smash up all the mirrors and create lots more shiny surfaces.
I know. What got me too is they're in the rain. They're in the rain, and there's water all over the deck. And they open the water barrel. I'm like, there's water everywhere. and then there's moonlight, so all that puddle of water on the surface of the deck would have some reflection. That's all I could think. It's like, you need to go to your best bet's to go to the desert, people. There's no way she's not coming out of the water or off the deck, I mean, because there's time you can see a reflection of the moon in the water sometimes almost. It just kind of, that was like inconsistent rules, and that made me kind of giggle this time. So what's the pop star that plays the Siren? I want to ask you this because I do not know her other than she was in a movie I liked that I saw afterwards. It was a Terry Gilliam movie, and I'm blanking on the name. So hold on, I'm going to pull up the notes. But Lily Cole?
I know the name. I couldn't say, but I could. I'm pretty much just as much in the dark as you are.
Okay, so I was thinking she was a little more famous than I misunderstood it. So hold on a second, I'm going to pull this up because I thought she's very lovely and she looked good and she did what what she was asked to do. But I saw her in another movie, and I was like, wow, y'all could have done stuff with her, because she was very good. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on this. I'm just trying to remember what it was. But it was a Terry Gilliam movie about a store or something.
Was it the Imaginarium of Dr. Something or Other?
Yeah, she's the female lead in that. She is the star of that movie with the lead. And she was very good in it. And I just want to make sure that I'm not batshit crazy and got it wrong. So I'll pull this up on idea. I thought I liked her. I think the Siren looked good, really good, and that part, like you were saying earlier, that about how they made it look, how ethereal and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's also good. It means they've given her a lot to, because she has to do a lot of stuff without talking. It has to be through movement and expression and gesture and gesticulating and whatnot. And it could be very easy to go into that sort of silent movie school of, oh dear, this is no good. This is no good demonstration for a podcast, but that sort of exaggerated gestures. But
I know exactly what you're talking about. And she's very subtle, and she just does little head tilts. She never smiles. She does everything kind of like with her eyes a bit. The
only bit when it goes a bit OTT is probably when she does the danger snarls and.
Oh yeah, that I did not. Oh my God, she's done a lot more stuff than I thought. She's in The Last Jedi. Good God. She has not done anything really big as anything. I'm not seeing anything that just pops up. But I really liked her in it. I thought she did what she was asked to do. She's very lovely, and that's kind of what you wanted her to look like. What did you think of the aliens? Okay, so Doctor always wants to have some form of sci-fi, space thing, it's this crutch. But I thought, I kind of liked the concept and them looking out. But what did you think of it?
Yeah, I like the idea of it occupying the same space, but not necessarily in the same geographical plane. So it was slightly out of phase. I thought that was quite a clever idea. It reminded me think a little bit of the hyperspace ship in Stones of Blood.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's a good analogy. And kind of they've done that before. I liked it. I liked that the aliens the aliens that would, if we had seen them not dead and as skeletons being something very not human looking.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things I liked in Wild Blue Yonder. Of the specials was the aliens were horse aliens. They weren't people. It wasn't, just humans. Or in Star Trek, they call it the nose of the week, because in the 90s they would just change their nose.
Or they'll just have a slightly bigger forehead. Or
Yeah. They would just do something on the top of their head. But I kind of like that, and and I just thought when they got to the room, there were a couple times where I'm like going, I know this is from 2009. But there are times watching these things when you're rewatching them on a bigger TV, and as TVs get better and as they get larger, and you're like going, he's just sitting on the concrete floor of a studio. You can, there was like all the people, like the big open set where all the people are floating. I was like going, is that just a room with some curtains in it and people hanging on these beds?
Yes, I thought it was a bit minimalistic.
It was.
But certainly at the time, but since I've rewatched it and prior to a couple of weeks prior to actually watching it and agreeing to come on this show, I actually spent a weekend in hospital myself due to some stomach issues and stuff, which I won't go into too much details of. But I ended up having to have an endoscope, but. Because it was a Sunday afternoon, I did notice, because the ward was quiet at the weekend, it is a little bit sparse. It does look like some of the beds are just in the background with some drapes down. So I was thinking, actually, maybe it's not that unrealistic. Once you're thinking, oh, there's no staff here, so there's going to be space. But there's going to be a lot of space for the staff to move around if they need to push the patients to different units and get equipment out. So maybe as a sort of abandoned hospital, it kind of works.
See, your hospitals are different than ours, because in this country you're in either a private room or a double room. You don't have wards. They're not big like common rooms. I mean, and I thought the set. Because I liked the idea that she's the medic, and I like the idea that all but Rory, of course, Rory dies again. He's like Penny in South Park.
They killed Rory, you bastard!
Poor bastard gets killed so many times, and comes back, and and that's part of my thing with Amy and Rory. It says they have to kill him. And they have to keep going, yes, I love you more than the doctor. It's like...
Yes, we got it in previous year, didn't we? What's the Amy's Choice?
Yeah.
We've already got that. We've established that with previous years. You don't have to keep doing it now.
Yeah, that's the thing that bugs me. But I think Arthur Darvill's very funny. And I think his love. I do like him when he's drawn to the Siren a bit more. It's a little funnier, and especially when he says something about her eyes, and Amy goes, "Oh, we're gonna have a conversation about that later."
I mean, the thing he's doing, the way he's doing it, he's kind of playing it like he's drunk. Yeah. And having heard a lot of people at the end of a night of a party night or a function, you see, yes, this is basically he's playing it drunk, just without all the slurring and the uncontrollable volume.
Yeah, I do like that. I thought that. Let's talk about Matt Smith as a doctor, because I mean the show's about him. I like the opening. I like it when they did these traditional Moffat era. They did these more traditional episodes where it starts with the guest cast and then the doctor just pops in, and I kind of like Matt Smith is very good at those moments. I think he is, because he's so funny and he's so nonsensical. He's so his doctor is so scatterbrained.
Yes, that's what it's one of the things I like about it is he's got that little bit absent-minded. He does have that absent-mindedness, which I mean, it is at times he has echoes of the second Doctor. He's got that sort of absent-mindedness of, oh, look at this.
Yeah, there's a Victoria, my original co-host on the show, and me came to realize something is William Hartnell is very unique, and Patrick Troughton had to create something very different. And I think we find, and I think she would agree with this, there's a little bit of Patrick and everybody else after that in a lot of ways, because that kind of zaniness, energy is repeated in more doctors after him than, you know what I mean? So,
oh, yes.
And I think Matt has it very spot on. I think Capaldi does, but Capaldi's Doctor is the closest, I think, to the first Doctor.
Yeah, so
the other. Yeah, because he
set maybe. I think there's an element of Eccleston in the the first Doctor in Eccleston's Doctor as well.
Yeah, I could see that too. But that sternness comes up a little more. But Matt, because when I heard Matt Smith, I had no idea who Matt Smith was when he got announced. And I saw him interviewed because, on the behind the scenes, the confidential, and I was intrigued. But and then literally from his head popping up in the 11th hour, it's like, oh yeah, you're the Doctor, and I love his energy. What did you think of him in this story?
I don't think it's one of his strongest episodes. I think he gets to do a lot of the. He's clearly having fun doing all the yo ho ho. I see, and he's trying to work it out as he goes along. But I think it's always he keeps getting too undercut all the time. It's all like, no, I'm wrong here. Oh, I'm wrong again. Oh, I'm wrong again. And I think they kept playing it the same way, and it needed to be a little bit. Perhaps a little bit more toned down, a little more serious as it went on. As he's realising, he's got yet another theory which is wrong.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
And it should have helped, to stand up to Avery, and pretty much Avery seems to be the dominant figure in the episode. Other than Amy, he leads the plot. He pretty much commands the action. He's in a certain way, the Doctor is just there to provide a little bit of exposition of how things happen.
That's true. I mean, I think you do that if you're going to hire Hugh Bonneville. You're going to want him to do a lot of heavy lifting because you're paying him. I had forgotten about Avery being name dropped in the Smugglers until I went and did, looked up on the Fandom Weekly for trivia, and to see some things, and that Avery was a real pirate, and that he is a historical figure. We don't know a lot about him except that he was a pirate, he stole a lot of stuff, and then he disappeared from history. There was no record of his death or anything after.
I do recall when I watched it when it went out, I was wondering if there was going to be any direct allusions to the Smugglers or hints, or that had he dropped off some of his treasure up in Cornwall, or references to Captain Pike or Cherub or any of the others. Just in passing reference, say like some of his crew mutinied after a previous misadventure or something.
Yeah, I mean, I found out more about Avery by looking at the TARDIS fandom wiki than I did, in the episode. Other than it's something that Moffat did. Who wrote? Is this a Moffat one?
This is a Stephen Thompson episode. Who I'm not going to say he's not one of my favourite writers for New Who. When I saw his name was listed in as the writers coming up, I thought, that'd be quite interesting because he wrote a couple of the Sherlock episodes.
He was he was the third Sherlock writer. And I like him on Sherlock, but I agree. I'm not that now I kind of realize why I think this is inconsistent. I find most of his Doctor Who's to be, he did a few, didn't he? Did 3 or 4?
Yeah, he did this one. He did Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, which
yeah, that's
yes, yes. I've yet to meet anybody who has got a good word to say about that.
It's like
I'm sure there are people out there who love it.
I bet there are. It's probably someone's favorite, and I get it. I just want. Can we do a TARDIS episode where the inside of the TARDIS looks impressive?
Yeah,
and it's not the same 3 hallways and big empty rooms. But what was the other one he did? What other one did he do?
I'm trying to think. Did he do? He did. I think he did Time Heist as well.
I like Time Heist. I will take
that. That's not a bad one. I think Moffat did a lot of rewriting on that one though, because a lot of season 8. I think Moffat rewrote quite a bit of it.
I think Moffat needed to do more rewriting. That would be my one. As much as I love his era, and he is one of my favorite TV writers, I wish he had been more like Davies when it came to his Doctor Who, which is be a little heavier editor.
Yeah,
because I think Davies, there are fewer uneven stories in Davies' era because the only person he didn't rewrite was Moffat. But I will say this: I think all of Moffat's stories for the Davies era are some of the best of those seasons.
Yeah, so they probably are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him writing one again this season.
Yeah, I think now he's got the pressure off because he would have been writing Sherlock as well. So he should have either been just focusing on her and left Sherlock, or perhaps just focused on Sherlock and have somebody else focus on the writing on the script editing for her.
Yeah, I never did understand that. I know he has a business. Sherlock is the family business because that's him, his wife, and his mother-in-law. His wife's his boss on Sherlock. She's the producer, not him. And his mother-in-law was a famous producer, like real incredibly famous.
Oh yes,
producer.
yes. She was produced a huge amount of the successful sitcoms in Britain in the late 80s and the 90s. One of the most famous being Men Behaving Badly, which was.
Oh, is that one of hers? Okay.
Yes, I think she produced. I think she produced that. I think she produced the latter seasons when it went over from ITV, because this was one of those weird shows which started off on ITV and then went over to the BBC.
Oh, I always thought it kind of went the other way, but that's it. Yeah, I knew her name when I kind of was like learning about Moffat, and oh, okay. And Victoria recognized her name and said, no, that's the woman. She did this, and this. I was like, oh, okay. Because we would get British sitcoms late at night on PBS. So if you stayed up late on a weekend as a kid, as a teenager, and there's nothing else on, you'd go, okay. But yeah, I overall, Matt, and I think there's some good moments in this. They put a lot of the heavy lifting on Hugh Bonneville and the Avery character because it's about him making bad choices, and I had forgotten kind of that subtext of him and his son and the doctor berating him. Is you've chose gold over everyone else in your life, what kind of man you are. And that whole story, or that whole point of the story of greed and avarice, or what was that what you were going for? Did you sacrifice it, family? What's the emotional subtext of the story is so uneven that I watched it and I was catching it, for the first time in a lot of ways. And I never remembered any of that.
I mean, the other thing is, it doesn't seem to have much of a payoff for choosing gold or what. It doesn't seem to have, because normally what happens is you make a bad decision, you usually get some kind of punishment, but he seems to get. Oh, you've got your son now. You've got a spaceship, and you've got a ship full of gold. You seem to have got it cushy and making all your bad decisions.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, I don't get rewarded when I make bad decisions. I get yelled at. What's going on? And but a buddy of me were talking about it, and he doesn't know as much as Dr. Who. And I was saying how I'm covering that one for my podcast, and he goes, I like that because he loves the Demon Run two-parter, and I do too. I really love the Demon Run two-parter, but that they kind of, when they moved it, they also kind of wanted to add them and the spaceship into that when all the Doctor's allies come. And that scene where he shows up at the end in Demon's Run, wherever he pops up, seems very tacked on. This was not written in the script. But there's also the scene where you've got a pirate from the 18th century flying it, and why is the kid still got the toes hooked to his throat and no one else does?
You'd think if he's going to be flying around in the universe, by now he'd have found somebody who can cure whatever diphtheria or whatever it was he had. Typhoid he had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought surely they've found somewhere, like they've gone to that big space hospital from the Invisible Enemy and got a cure or something.
Yeah, it just looks really bad with that vacuum hose stuck to his throat. It's a very 1980s. That's another thing I was thinking when they're hanging there with the tubes. I was like going, is this a leftover set from Colin Baker's era or something? Because it's just really minimalist and it looked really cheap. And it just looked silly. And I'm like going, how do you I mean, they know they hint when they're in the TARDIS where the Avery goes, oh, this is the astrolabe, this is that, this is this. Yeah. A ship's a ship. I went, no, brother, it ain't.
No, it's just, so I think, that's a bit of a stretch. If it was, on the flight deck or something like Enterprise or something, which does at least have something resembling movement, or like the Liberator from Blake 7, which has sort of like things you push to make the ship move. Yes, tactically you can understand, but this is a bank of buttons
and he's got like a pilot's cockpit, modern airline, which is just a hydraulic handle. Yeah. It's not really a steering wheel. It was just a little. I mean, it's like suspension disbelief. Okay, but come on, it's it. But I do like pirates in space, and I want to say something visually that I do. What I hadn't caught before was they talk about the dual stars. When they're looking at it's Sirius, it's dual. The Doctor says that's actually 2 stars, a binary system, and he goes and Avery goes, yes, I guide my travels with that, whatever. That that you get to see them, you know,
Yeah.
and I'd forgotten that, and that looked pretty. I mean, it looked nice, and I was like, that's good, but the ending, it's just you got a space pirates. Is this really the payoff, and did it work? And I think it was just a little.
No, it's I think it's a lot with a lot of New Who, and particularly I've noticed particularly with RTD Who in particular. So the also got a throwback is they set up the episode, then they realise they're running out of episode, and they have to wrap get to the end quite quickly, and you think, have I skipped a page or?
No, that's a lot, and I know what you're talking about. There are other shows like that. That it always bugs me where you've in America, because we have on commercial television, you used to only be allowed to have, you had 15 minutes of the hour, 15 minutes could be commercials. They had laws like it could be this, it could be that. But you'd be in an hour drama, and you'd get to the 45-minute commercial break before the end, and it's like, how are they going to finish this in the 8 minutes or 9 minutes they've got left after the 2 or 3 minutes of commercials? And it's like, what you skipped something. It's just you rush it. And I think this one feels a little, I don't think they knew what the ending was going to be. I think they decided to give Avery the spaceship because they liked it, and he thought he'd tack it, I'm going to bring Avery back. That'll be part of my finale. And I was like, he doesn't need to be part of your finale. I think it's neat that Space Pirate, that the people we've seen during the season come to the rescue.
Yeah, it's a nice build. It's nice. I'd be interested to see how the episode would have ended had it gone out in the second half of the season as originally intended. Because of course in this version we have a pretty much a reprise of the end of Day of the Moon with the Doctor pondering on the pregnancy scan on the TARDIS.
Yeah, that's very tacked on, and it's like.
And so it makes me wonder: is that an additional scene, or if it had gone out in the second half, would we have had another discussion on the shot of the projected date of the death of the Doctor on the TARDIS screen?
Yeah, I think them flying away and probably what you're talking about when we see the screen were added, because they don't. It doesn't feel like a natural progression in what the story. It's that thing I said at the beginning. It's all over the place. It's kind of like a cut and paste kind of story.
And it wouldn't look too bad if they'd gone Impossible Astronaut Day, or then done the Doctor's wife, and then had Curse of the Black Spot and had a little reprise at the end, and because then that would feed directly into the Rebel Flesh, which begins to address that story properly.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of the Rebel Flesh. It's one of those two-parters. It's like six-parters with me. Six-parters are always like two, or at least minimum one episode too long. But I think you're right. I think it would fit better there. I do think that's a good point. That I think it would fit better there, because I love the Doctor's wife. It has my favorite line in any Doctor Who of all time. When Idris says, "I like biting. It's like kissing, but there's a winner." It's such a great line, and the woman who plays her is such an amazing actress. And I think I like both. I like all. I've always said just two. The two Gaiman episodes. I like both of them. But definitely, I was watching last night, and my wife is out west in Arizona taking care of my stepmom, helping my stepmom. And our two dogs are with some friends. And my wife's like, "You got to work, and you need 4 days without the dogs to prep, because it's hard for me to take care of the dogs and go to work." But
I feel that one.
My hound dog's a moron. But they're good. But it's just I can be at work and supposed to be off at 4, and then all of a sudden something happens and I'm there for another 8 or 9 hours.
Yes.
So, but I got wrapped in, and I got halfway through the Doctor to the next episode, the Doctor's wife, and I forgot how much I loved it and how much I like this season. As uneven as it is for me, in some ways, nowhere near as uneven as. There are other uneven seasons in most Doctor Who seasons. I like the idea that we only do 10 episodes for television series now, because it cuts down on the unevenness. But I forgot how good it was, and it could have been good. I think maybe they were also trying to. They may not have had the confidence in the Black Spot 2 is one of the reasons they moved it in between the season premiere and the Doctor's Wife, because I mean, I think they would have looked at the Rebel Flesh and go, yes, we need this to get to where we're going, but is it as good, strong as it could have been?
Yeah.
Because what else? Oh, let me pull up. I used to have this all in my head, and then old age and the 80s got in my brain. Hold on. I do love these episodes. I had to buy a new Jean-Marc Lafayette because the one I had is starting to fall apart, and I don't want it to fall apart completely because I've had it so long. It has the notes in the episode listing, which VHS tape. When I had everything on VHS tape, and to make them fit, you'd have to squeeze things onto 6-hour tape. Yeah. So so this 2-parter, this 6-parter, and this 4-parter will make this tape. So, but so this, what's this season?
6A.
Oh God, I hated when they split these seasons up. I wanted to punch him. What I do like in this episode guide, it puts the mini episodes in there too. I didn't realize that. So it's Curse of the Black Spot, The Doctor's Wife, Rebel Flesh, The Almost People, A Good Man Goes to War. Okay, and then we get the break, and then it's Let's Kill Hitler, Night Care. Oh, I will say this on the second half. In this season, it is up and down on the first half. In the second half, I like everything except the last 2 episodes. I'm not a big fan of Closing Time.
Me neither.
And I'm not a big fan of The Wedding of River Sun.
I think Closing Time just feels like it's treading water as you get to the finale already. It's just kind of...
Yeah, well, I bring back James Corden's character. I mean, I like his character, and there are aspects... I like the baby jokes, all the Stormageddon,
Yeah.
Well, that he can speak baby. That's about the only thing in that I like.
Yeah, I was just wondering, had the season just gone as one whole 13 in one block, I wonder if the deficiencies of episodes like Closing Time and Curse of the Black Spot would show up quite as much, because when you've got a bigger block of things, you can kind of smooth over some of the black spots, shall we say?
I think you're right. You'll cleanse. It's like, oh, that one wasn't bad. Oh, this one's great, and you forget how this one's uneven.
Yeah, so you can get hit in the mist. But when you've got 6-7 episodes, they begin to show up a little bit more. It's like it's fine to. Battlefield is a mediocre story, but if it had been in part of the Tom Baker era, and it was one of 6 stories, you'd just gloss over it. But because it's only one of 4, it sticks out a little bit more.
Yeah,
and probably attracts more unwarranted attention than it really deserves.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed something when we switch, because the internet is a great thing, but I feel it's bad in other ways because it makes everybody think they're an expert. Everyone thinks they're beautiful, and everybody thinks they can sing, and none of that is true. But we also get in these debate and these arguments, who's best in it. I'm like going, I don't believe in best or worst. I believe in favorite or least favorite, because everybody's different. Every episode of Doctor Who, no matter how good or bad it may be to me, they may be the favorite of somebody. We all have different tastes. And we get into this debate about who was a better producer, who was a better this, who was a better that. And I think, and what it would come up on the internet was that they need a writer's room, this modern television thing about you have a head writer, or I'm going to use the American model that we have that we have now, which is you'll show in America, you'll have a producer you'll have the executive producer, you'll have the money producer, the producer who's in charge of money. Then you'll have a producer who's the head of the writing room, and you'll have a producer who's the head of the directors.
Yeah. And
the producer who's the head writer they'll whiteboard stuff, and they'll decide, they'll plan a season out. America, we do 20 episodes, and that we used to, bigger ones, but you'll move them around because you've got that. And since you don't, you have, the producers like Phil Collinson and the other people who do the episode by episode productions, they're worried about money, location, craft services.
Yeah.
Would a writer room help on that? But I think it's more like what you said, is if you put these 10 together, 10 or 11 episodes together, maybe they could have played with the intermix a little bit better, which would help stories like this.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on that. Moffat, as much as I love him, is, of all the producers, I think the most uneven.
Very, very probably, yes.
I mean, because the stories I will say this, my least, and I love Peter Capaldi, and I love some episodes, but his first season is my least favorite, because there are more stories that I really just can't on board. I just don't like. I don't know if you've listened to enough of my episodes that my least favorite Doctor Who of all time is Kill the Moon, because the moon is an egg. To me, just cross some imaginary line. I told my older brother, who turned me into it, a Who fan, goes, "Oh my God, I hate it." And he goes, "After 40 years of watching Doctor Who, that's the one that killed your suspension of disbelief? Come on, man." And I went, "Yeah, it's fair." But it drives me nuts. Just one of that episode that tweaks
think
me.
about Kill the Moon is it starts off with a good 20. It starts off with a good 20 minutes, and then we go, moon's an egg, and what?
And then it goes back to being the moon. And then the one with the forest that pops up, which in some ways I think is great. And then it has the sister in the shrub reappear. The older sister reappears inside a shrub. So that season's uneven. But I love Capaldi's first episode.
I think that the forest one, I think that would work a lot better had it been a Matt Smith episode, purely because it's got that sort of fairy tale thing, vibe about it, and that's more suited to the Matt Smith Doctor, who is basically a mad pixie who comes in his blue box making silly mistakes, and
especially season 5, because season 5 is a fairy tale. It's the girl who waited. It's all about the fairy tale, and I think that's why season 5 is, I think, the best. It's the most solid season, in my opinion, of all modern Who. It really, really works. I mean, even the low moments in some of it, because it starts with the 11th Hour, which is an amazing piece of television, and it ends with the two-parter. The Pandoric opens, and the Big Bang is a great finale, because he has his beginning and he has his end. I know he knows how this ends. When I watch that, I know, oh, you knew from the minute his head popped up, this is how this season was going to end.
Yeah.
But you don't in this season.
No, it's a lot of it's quite a bit. Yeah, it's a bit too muddled, and you put it together thinking, oh, there's definitely some rewrites which happened in this episode, but because they've happened in this episode, now that's been moved here, that means that your rewrite makes no sense because what it was referring to is. There's
something, and I think looking at the order we just did, I would take Closing Time out and then make The Wedding of River Song a two-parter somehow, and show us more, kind of split up all that you've crammed into it at the end.
Yeah.
Show how the universe. Show us a little more about how the universe got condensed into that 10-minute frame. And please to God, okay, there's an American announcer at the beginning of that one, Meredith Vieira. She was a Today Show host. That is the morning show I was talking about. She was the host of that show at that moment, because it's the most famous morning television news show in the history of American TV. So that was all of it. I mean, it was nice to see Simon Cowell back. Simon, is it Simon? No.
Yeah, Simon Cowell,
Yeah, as Dickens. It was nice to see Ian McNeice back as Churchill. It was nice to see a Silurian. All that was neat, but it was just all over the frickin' place.
Yeah, it's neat to be. Yeah, so what we got is a lot of condensed time for the Doctor providing exposition.
Oh, God.
That's the soothsayer. And why is he still dressed as a royal when they're just not in his usual outfit?
Yeah, and the other thing is, you're the BBC. You're some of the greatest costume designers and makers anywhere in the world, and the wigs they put on Matt Smith are absolute shit.
Yeah.
They all don't. It's like, that doesn't look real. It's crooked. It's why does he have Billy Ray Cyrus's 1980s mullet on his head? I mean, I really, and I love a good high def television. It's nice, but Hugh Bonneville's beard is fake. I hope it's fake. If it's not, they should have filled in some color.
The thing is, your fake beards, yeah, you can always tell them because they don't look right. You get little bits of, random bits growing in rather strange places, and you'll get.
Yeah, you can see where they have to blend in, like the latex that's holding the hair in place. Yeah, it just looked a little off.
And when it's, particularly around the side of your mouth, they don't never get that right. So.
And that's what was bugging me. You got it exactly. It was right here between the mustache and the beard. It was like just a little eyeline pencil in there, people. A little shoe polish. I don't need to see where the net is. Do something. But let's kind of wrap this up. Overall, did you enjoy it? I mean, was it fun to rewatch it again?
Yeah, it was fun to rewatch. I'd say it's quite an episode. It's quite an average episode. It is unfortunately does fall into the New Who trope of it's alien technology which does not understand people. I think that's getting old now, and it will crop up another couple of times, and it just again feels really old.
Yeah, Doctor Who has created the tropes. Also, has created tropes that are its own set of tropes that they use over and over again. It's like Star Trek does that. It's been going on for so long. It's like, you could pick a story in Doctor Who in any era and then go, this is basically the plot for this one and this one and this one and this one. And this is one of those. Alien technology, it's hidden. Like you said, Stones of Blood, which is one of the stories for me that gets better the more I watch it. Like when I saw it in the 80s, I was like, this is stupid. I watch it now and I go, this is actually a lot of fun.
Yes.
These over-the-top scenes are actually very entertaining. But this one, I enjoyed it more than I had. It was nice. I got to sit in my, I have a little, you can't see it, but it's a small room in my apartment that is just bookshelves and TVs.
Yeah.
And I've got two blue bookshelves that I painted blue and put police call box on the top part of them. They were part of a play set that I worked on and I've had for about 30 years. But it was nice to just kind of sit in my lazy boy and watch it and go, hey, I forgot, I haven't, I'm kind of I was thinking about it. I forgot how good it was. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, we got New Who coming. It's going to be different. And it had some charm in it. And there were parts of it I like. It definitely needed an edit before it got filmed, and definitely some maybe editing. I will say this is what's your take on Maury Gold? I mean, he can be
he can produce absolute genius, but like Shepherd's Boy in Heaven Sent, some of the stuff he does for Heaven Sent, but he gets a bit too much. He's a bit too keen on the bombastic and everything has to have a theme rather than atmosphere and.
He's very John Williams.
This has got a bit too much jokey. Let's go and do Pirates of the Caribbean nods in all the score, and just in case we haven't figured out it's got pirates in it, from with all the cutlasses, tricorner hats, and the big pirate ship.
I don't think
they've got it. Let's just put a bit more piratey music on.
My top thing was he took one of his dramatic themes, set of notes, bit of music. It was like, I know this is the dramatic moment where the Doctor and Avery are going to have that conversation that the Doctor has with his guest star. I don't need you to be broadcasting that. Oh, let them bring it up.
Yes, it needs. It could do a bit more muted versions of his themes. A bit more understated. Which is one of the things I did like when Sir what's his name, Sagan took on with Chibnall, is that there was a lot more atmosphere. It was more. I love that.
That's what I really liked about it, and he would hide those themes.
Yeah,
he would. It's like in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. She comes through, and it's just under. It's great dramatic music, and you don't realize it for a second. Oh, that's the Doctor Who theme.
Yeah, it's one of my jokes is that if they say, "Well, I don't remember much of the score," well, if you didn't remember it, it's done its job properly, because then it's not got in the way.
Yeah.
It's either been intrusive or it's been bad.
Yeah, and I don't mind a very what I call like the John Williamsy kind of music, which is bum 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 bum, and I like that. But I think you're right. Is there are times to mute it.
Yeah.
You know, John Williams will dun da da dun da da. You know, he'll put like like dun, like there's a chase. He'll have a rhythm. But when people are speaking, it brings it down. The great film ones, it's like, yes, if it's an action sequence, give music.
Yeah.
Just to give people a rhythm to how, okay, they're going fast. Oh, it's scary, so we'll slow down the music. But there are a couple times in this where it's like, did my TV go out of whack? And it went up and down.
Yes, Murray Gold needs to put the fiddles away, I think.
Oh my God, yeah, it was very
stringy. That is actually going to... One good thing I will say about Journeys to the Centre of the TARDIS is it's got a much more electronic score, which is much more... makes that more thing, got away from the fiddles.
I might have to jump into that, because that one is just... That is one that is just so rough to watch for me. Because it's just so... if I had to choose between this and that one, I'm choosing this one.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, hey, but we're going to wrap this up, my friend. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun talking Doctor Who with you. I know you're working on your own podcast. You want to kind of give it a little promo here while you've got it
Okay. Okay, let's go. It's called Siren Storm. It should be dropping on around the 11th of May for the first episode. And for this first series, it's just going to be a rough chart following my journey into fandom. And I've decided to go through the course of following through the first set of VHSs I got. So I've managed to work them and combining with the BBC Two repeats. I've worked them up to a point, and then it all gets a bit muddled. But I can definitely say this, and this up to a certain point is the stories I would have watched on home release or independently, because that is when I really became a proper fan as opposed to a viewer. So I've got some interesting guests lined up. I've been talking. For my first episode, I'm talking about Death to the Daleks, and I've got the ubiquitous Cy Hart as my guest.
That's a great guest. He's a fun guest. When we're done, I'm going to finish up editing the previous episode, and he was my guest. It was good to have him on it. It's great. So, hey, please keep us posted on that, and I will share it on my... when you have your first one coming up, shoot me the link, and I will repost it and share it. I look forward to listening to it.
Yes, I'll send it over.
All right. Well, thank you again, and I may be asking to got more coming up. I don't know if I will get to the next one. That folks, I don't know if I will have I may not. This may be the last of the normal episodes I do for a couple months, because I think the episode after this will be the first one of the new season. Yeah. I'm not sure. If not, it will be. Oh my God, what is the next Capaldi one I am doing?
Magician's Apprentice?
Yes, that two-parter, yes. And which I've not watched in a long time, so I don't really have an opinion. Capaldi is the least rewatched. I haven't rewatched a lot. I used to rewatch every year. Oh, it's coming back. I'm going to rewatch everything. And it got to the point to where when Capaldi came, there's just too much to rewatch all of it before the new season. So the Capaldi and Jodie are my least rewatched of Who. So I'm kind of looking forward to every time I do a Capaldi or a Jodie, I get I forgot, I don't remember this one.
Yeah, with my tie-in blog, which is going through my top 60, I've done the posts for the ones which didn't quite get into the top 60, and I've done a post on my bottom 10. I'm just going into starting my top 60 now, and there's quite a few Capaldis in there, and I do believe Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar is around the middle, so that's forthcoming. And unusually, which will be unusual for a lot of Doctor Who fans, but both Neil Gaiman episodes are in my top 60.
I don't know. I'd have to look up the last time I used the randomizer, because I use that randomizer thing because my opinion changes. It changes based on mood, and I'm a big thing on art is how you absorb it. Doing this podcast during the pandemic and during Trump and all that was really like I watched The Mutants and went, oh God, that's hitting some notes about crazy people and things like that. So I think it's and I've been watching Doctor Who since I was 13 and I will be 60. So there are things that I used to love that I don't like as much, and there are others, and that's the joy of rewatching. And now we've got whole new era of Who, which is, I don't even know what it's, I can't, with the 4 specials, I don't even know how to describe it yet. I want to see a season. You know, I want to see what a season is like under RTD again. All right, folks. Michael, thank you so much. Shoot me the links when you're ready to post your first episodes, and I will share them and give them a listen. I'm looking forward to it. And
thank you very much.
All right. And folks, as always, hey, we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.